All right, so you ready to go to the phones? Phone
Yes,
lines are
ma'am.
lit.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Y'all are
ma'am.
calling. All right, Deborah has a question for you. Deborah in North Kakalaki. Welcome to the Karen Hunter Show. You're on with me and Dr. Daniel Black. Hey.
Hello, Dr. Black and Professor Hunter. I just want to thank you for being available this Monday. I've been listening and engaging and thinking through this whole notion that you introduced today about sheep and leading and thinking through Mother Harriet Tubman and her ability to liberate. It feels like that's a pocket of liberation. Of course, I feel like she had the ancestors and God with her. But my question kind of relates to your book, The Coming, Dr. Black, where you said on like page 19, we cannot say that there were no signs.
Hey,
We can say only that we did
did not
not
keep them.
heed them.
Yes.
And then when I think about biblically how in second Chronicles where it talks about on in chapter 7, if my people who are called by my name humbled themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven and will forgive their sin.
Yes.
And I'm not talking about the sin like we understand it in this country, but I want to know what the wicked way is, because since being stolen from our native land and brought to this country and trafficked, I don't believe our prayer has been any different. And we've had pockets of liberation, but what is the one thing I want to understand that perhaps we're not heeding the sign or we haven't turned away from, that's going to help us to once and for all be free collectively?
I would answer that this way. One of the things that I lectured at a class at Morehouse this morning, and I lectured somewhat on this topic, which is so unbelievably profound to me right now. But that is this: if a person is ever oppressed and in bondage, and when they get the means to come out of that oppression or that bondage, they create themselves in the image of their oppression. And it's easy to do. Why? Because if you're not careful, what you build a desire for while oppressed is what you think is the freedom of the oppressor's existence. So that they have churches, we need churches. Ah, they have hospitals, we need hospitals. So we ignore the healers and start building hospitals because they have hospitals, right? They have 3-story houses, they have 5,000 square foot houses. We need to be one of the things we're going to, Jesus help me today, deem our right is the ability to build, construct, and move into 4 and 5 bedroom houses. They have Mercedes. Us driving Mercedes then becomes a means and a sign. In other words, if a person is not careful, you can reify your bondage in what you think is your freedom.
Oh my God.
If we're not
I mean,
very, very careful. This is why I'm going to follow you out, sister, right? Jesus did something so profound. Jesus never built a house. Hey, God, help me today. Jesus never built a house. Jesus never went shopping for their clothes. And what's so profound about this, but could walk on the water if you believe the story. Because part of the strength of walking on the water is not carrying so much materiality that it would literally drown
you. mm. And Deborah, thank you. Thank you for reading The Coming. It's a life
you.
transforming
Absolutely.
book.
Oh, appreciate
Got me like, as my mother said, I got to pick it up and then put it down. I pick it up and my husband pick it up. After I put it down, he pick it up. It's not a book to be read in one sitting. It's a book to be sat with. And in that, as I went through the very traumatizing passages and things, I came to the conclusion that, maybe not that we forgot, but freedom was never on the table because while people were in bondage and folk, villages conquered other villages, but they brought people in, even the Egyptians. One of the things that they say was part of their downfall was letting people in and incorporating them into society.
That's
like
right.
there was
Right.
not like, you don't get to be a part. No, we're going to borrow from everybody. But you think about what does liberation. So for me right now, I'm thinking, and this is what I'm going to be talking about forever until I close my eyes, is like we need to create the world we actually want to live in. But we have to first imagine what do we need? Like you said, do you need 5 bedrooms, 5,000 square feet? Do you need a new car?
God.
Do you need new clothes? You need
God.
you need new clothes, maybe, but what does community look like?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And Karen, I want to jump in right there just for a hot second. And that is, one thing I was never in favor of until maybe about 2-3 years ago. And now I see it so completely. And that is, I'm also in favor of building community with people we hand pick. Because see, if it's true that 90% of people are followers and 5% of people are the saints, etc., the notion of just welcoming anybody is going to undermine the project. Because then we're going to welcome nice people, but they won't hold up the temple.
They will not. I knew that though, which is why I'm not like, hey, everybody come over here. Because the work that is required, most people aren't willing to do. And most people aren't honest enough with themselves to say that they're sheep. Everybody thinks they're a leader. And the worst thing in the world is for a sheep to become a leader.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we have to sometimes secretively to our own people, we have to say, listen, there are about 10 people I need, and call those 10 people and have a private meeting. See, Black people have worked hard not to be exclusive because we think American and Western exclusivity, right, is part of the thing that is America's evil. No, that's part of America's actual success.
Those meetings, those Bilderberg meetings, those meetings in Germany, those meetings in these different places where they make 10 people come in a room and decide for the entire world what's going to happen.
That's right.
It's evil for us because we end up having things happen to us as a result of that. But the power in having a very clear and everybody having their marching orders because they all have particular sets of skills, that's another thing altogether. And it's not a crony thing. Like for me, even as I imagine this channel's not full of people that are friends of mine.
See, and that too.
I hardly even know 90% of these, it's like
the institution I run in Atlanta, the institution I and other elders run here in Atlanta, I've run for 30 years. I've told people this, and most people have missed it. None of my personal friends are in it. I know some wonderful people, but yes. I know some wonderful people, sweet and kind people. If I needed $20, I'd call them. But if I needed an analytical understanding of what happened between the Harlem Renaissance and the Civil Rights Movement, I wouldn't call them. Hey.
Yeah.
And not because they're not sweet, but because they do not have what it is I'm looking for.